Bienvenidos al programa de la Ventanilla de Orientación Educativa con el Consulado de México en Yuma y Arizona Western College, su colegio comunitario. Hoy vamos a hablar con Jennifer Thimell, maestra de inglés en Arizona Western College. Hoy la maestra nos va a describir quién es un escritor o who is a writer. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Linda. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Fine. Tell us, who is a writer?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I'd like to start instead of by just telling you. I want everyone who's listening to think about this question themselves. Like, when you hear the word writer, what do you think? Like, I like to ask this question to my students, and I get all kinds of answers. Like someone who is very intelligent, someone who's good with words. Dr. Linda Elliott-Nelson, when you hear the word writer, what do you think? Who do you think of?
Oh, I think of someone who writes books or poetry.
Yeah, someone who's published, right? Someone who is very educated. I get all kinds of information. So I want to give you like maybe 5 seconds. I'm going to count 5 seconds and just keep in that your mind that image of who you think a writer is. Like maybe write something down or just think about it really quick. All right, so you've got that image in your head? Okay, so I'm going to reveal. Okay, so technically I have a master's in rhetoric and composition, which is a fancy way of saying I have a master's in writing. So I'm someone who is considered, I guess you could say, an expert on the field of writing. And so this is my expert definition of who is a writer, okay? So I'm going to answer the question for you forever, all right? So here's the official definition. This is a writer. Someone who writes.
Wow.
That's it. If you write, you are a writer. If you go look this up in the dictionary, it's going to say someone who writes. And it's not just someone who writes in English, because writing is not synonymous with English. It can be someone who writes in Spanish, someone who writes in any other kind of language. A lot of linguists think that emojis and text speak are their own kind of writing. And so if you write a message to an audience for the purpose to communicate, whether that's a text to a friend, an email to a boss or coworker, whether that's a thank you letter to an aunt or a grandma for your Christmas present, any of those things, you have an audience, you have a message, you're using writing or the written word to communicate that message, that makes you a writer, which means you already kind of have the skills to become a writer in any other context. What that means is when it comes to college writing, I know a lot of people get intimidated. You want me to write how many papers? People get really nervous, but really what you need to understand is you already have those skills. It's a matter of applying the skills that you've already developed through communication, through learning how to write, through wanting to talk to others, and learning to put that into a college context. That's it. So, you know, if you ever do think of taking a class at AWC, just know that you have the skills to be a writer. You have the ability to learn how to write. And if you have written anything in your life as a message to communicate with someone else, you are a writer. That's about it. That's all I got to say.
Well, thank you. What if I'm someone who is struggling with English because my first language is Spanish? Mm-hmm. What would you say?
Well, here's what I would say. I would say that having two languages to operate in can make extra steps for you, but think about this. Writing and speaking are not the same thing. So when you write, you don't write the way you think, you speak. Like I'm saying so a lot, I'm pausing a lot, I'm getting to use my hands. If I was writing this down in a paper, I would use different words. A lot of what writing is coming up with the right word to express what I want to say in the written format. Now, imagine if you have two languages. Imagine that feeling you get when you're searching your head to find the right word in English or the right word in Spanish. that is the same energy you use when you decide to write. So I would argue that yes, while there's still some difficulties with learning a new language, and it's hard, and it's definitely something that not even a lot of people in English do, you have an advantage because you've been exercising that part of your brain your entire life of which word do I find to find the meaning that I need to communicate this message. And because you've been doing that, you're actually further along, I would say, than someone who only has one language operating in their head, because you've actually know what it means to search for the right word to communicate. And honestly, searching for the right word to communicate at the right time to the right person, that's writing. So you've been, maybe we could say you're auditorily composing. And now what we're going to train you to do in college is to do it on paper in English. But at the same time, again, writing is not synonymous with English. It's not the same thing as the skills it takes to write is simply taking an idea from one format, putting it into another format to communicate to a certain audience. And that's what you've been doing if you've had to talk in two languages your entire life. So I like to say people who are bilingual, they actually have a writing superpower.
Wow, well, that's so encouraging. Thank you so much for your message today, Jennifer.
Of course.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.